Margaret, it's a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
You work for a fabulous company called Microsoft. AI and Gen AI. Enterprises are very good with AI because they have the wherewithal to build the infrastructure, the policies, things in place. The startups are not so privileged to do that. So the first question is, for a big company like yours, how do you see this unfolding? Because you have investments in ChatGPT, and so you're at the very forefront of this technology evolution.
Sure. I mean, I think Microsoft's philosophy in general is that AI will be the democratizing force of technology, and where you had to have massive investments and had to have, like all the money, because we have so much of the infrastructure already built. That's what's freeing the data, right? Is that we have the cloud, and that is the only reason that we are able to run these LLMs. So the growth and just insane amount of infrastructure that we have built is now in the hands of users, right, for a nominal cost. So what we have had to invest internally is now getting back in the hands of the users who, like I mentioned on the panel, like farmers are using it, right, to like generative AI to basically increase like crop production, because they can fly drones over their fields and then use that telemetry and see where is it growing better, what am I using here, what am I using, and it's getting to just the people that need it the most and the people that have generally not had access to IT infrastructure at the rate that we have now. So I would just say it's a democratizing platform, and that's what I think all of us at Microsoft are generally excited for, is that it is not going to be, right, the big 100-pound gorilla companies. It's going to be the small startups. Like OpenAI was nothing 15 years ago. So look at what they've done in 15 years. So it's super exciting, but it's because of the compute and the infrastructure that Microsoft and AWS and Google have built.
You mentioned democratization, and that has to extend to the startup ecosystem. And when you build platforms as big as yours, how do you then empower startups?
So Microsoft has a Microsoft Startups program, specifically where you can actually go in, you apply as a startup, and we will provision you. I can't exactly remember how much Azure, but it's free credits in Azure, it's training, it's support, and there's actually staff that are assigned to your account as a startup to help incubate the good ideas, because we know that, again, whether it's open source, startups, right, it's the small companies that you don't see coming that will bring the best ideas. So Microsoft for Startups is a thing. I've seen it work. I've actually in my old role, not as EY, because EY is obviously a huge enterprise, but I've seen it. I've seen actual companies leverage the program and flourish with it.
Then Microsoft, relatively speaking, has a gentler perception in the industry. So when you don't come across as aggressive, especially with technology like AI, I'm trying to learn how, as a company culture, you inculcate that, because it's a huge brand, and obviously it has risen so much in the last few years in terms of value. So there has to be a lot of thought that has gone into it. It's not by accident these things happen. So it starts with leadership.
It is.
And there's some learning there for all of us.
There is. Satya Nadella came in 10 years ago. It was actually right when I came into Microsoft under Steve Ballmer, and he was that aggressive, very bullying personality. And it was like, squash the competitor, we don't want anything to do with Apple, we don't want anything to do with Linux or open source. And Satya came in with a complete rebrand, refresh, and he has a book, it's called Hit Refresh. Highly recommend it for everybody if they haven't read it. And it was exactly that, was like, we cannot be a 1,000-pound gorilla and going and try to beat other companies up. It is to go back to the platform and kind of the roots of like, put the desktop on to everybody, and it's back to the democratization. He has that very concept, and like kind of I feel like we lost our way for a little bit, and now that we went back to sort of the roots of, this should be for everyone. This is helping like literally human beings and our mankind get better and improve over time, and so using the tech will be like paramount for everybody. So not just, again, the big companies, but that culture was absolutely intentional. He started at the top, and when he took over as CEO, he basically went to his entire staff and said, here's what I'm thinking. If you're not on board, like, we're going to change, because it was very competitive. It was literally people were stealing each other's ideas, even like the PGs in the program, in the developers. And so he just changed that. It's like, if you're not working with your colleagues to build upon your good ideas, but together, then you're not going to have a job. So it was a very drastic change, but it was slow, and he's worked it for the last 10 years, and I would just say it is requisite with our stock price. Like the culture, the change, and the improvements that he's made across the industry, across the staff, across the culture, and it started with him. He's one of the most amazing leaders I have ever had the pleasure of working with.
No, it's visible.
It is.
You see that difference.
Yes.
In the performance, obviously stock price is one element.
Yes.
But in terms of performance as a company and the people.
Absolutely. And people at Microsoft, I mean, even it is a kinder, gentler culture, and people just flourish in that. People do not want to be scared that somebody's going to steal their idea and, like, you know, throw them under the bus in a review. That's not fun. So to have that collaborative nature just baked into the culture is just so refreshing, and just to have been part of it, right? I came in at, the stock price was 35. It is now at like 375, and that is amazing. Absolutely. Just like no one else has done that. Absolutely. Yeah, so super cool.
All right. Thank you so much, Margaret. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. Nice to meet you.